One thing that I've come to love about World of Tanks is the lack of pressure players have to progress through the tiers of this game. What you generally want to do with the game is find a tank that you enjoy and stick with it. That's what this game is to me, and that's how I like to play it. I'm Ramblin' Gamer, and this is W.o.T. Today on our first episode ever of W.o.T, we're going to be covering the T1 Cunningham, the American Tier 1 tank. As this is a Tier 1 tank, this will probably be a pretty short episode, so there isn't a lot to talk about with Tier 1 tanks. Let's look at the bad first. The T1's armor is shit. It has 10mm armor all the way around the tank. This means that it has armor only superior to that of the Vickers Mark I. As such, nearly all other Tier 1 tanks with their machine guns will tear through the T1's armor in no time. The T1 also only has 2 crew members, though considering the thickness of its armor, odds are you're going to die long before your crew members do. While I'll cover the T1's excellent weapons in a moment, it should also be mentioned that they do have pretty horrible reload times when compared to other Tier 1 tanks. Finally, the T1 is a Tier 1 tank, which is a strike against it. This is fine when you're up against other Tier 1 tanks, but do keep in mind that you're either always playing with tanks on your level or above you. Nowhere to go but up. Now let's look at the good things about the T1. This tank is fast. Holy shit, this tank is fast. Well, no, not really. This tank is pretty slow when it comes down to it, but it is the fastest Tier 1 tank, and considering most of your battles will be against other Tier 1s, this is a good thing. The T1 can climb hills and get to cover long before other Tier 1 tanks can, giving it a good chance to get into position and wait for ambushes, which shouldn't be hard considering the next thing that makes the T1 an excellent tank. The gun. Holy hell. The T1 has 2 really good choices of ending weapons, the 37mm semi-automatic Browning and the 20mm gun. Either one of these weapons is excellent, and odds are if you unload the full clip into any opposing Tier 1 tank, it'll likely kill them. The only one that should give you maybe a little bit of problems is the W.o.T, though I wouldn't expect all of your shots to be pinging off that thing. Of course, this weapon does begin to slowly lose its edge as you climb up the ranks, and with Tier 2 tanks getting far more specialized, they will always pose a larger problem for Tier 1 tanks. The tank's view and signal range are pretty low, but then again, it's pretty average since it's a Tier 1 tank, and this isn't a huge problem for it. As said at the beginning, there isn't much to say about Tier 1 tanks. They're pretty straightforward. They're an introduction into what the game is, and they teach you how to play. But that said, however, if you're going to hold on to a Tier 1 tank, the T1 is an excellent choice. The tank has a speed advantage when playing at Tier 1, and if you fire before your opponent does, odds are that you can 1v1 the vast majority of other Tier 1 tanks, no problem. I do want to point out the big key word here is if you can fire before your opponent does. I'm Ramblin' Gamer, this has been W.o.T. Have a good day, and watch out for bears.